Welcome. Today we're going to be creating a virtual machine and install Linux Mint on top of it. So to start off, before doing anything with VirtualBox or downloading the ISO, you're going to need to go into your BIOS settings and enable CPU virtualization. I can't show you that as every BIOS is different. I'm going to throw up some images of an ASRock BIOS and it'll show that you kind of go into advanced settings and under some obscure part you can enable CPU virtualization. Once you've enabled it, save it in your BIOS settings and just restart, boot back into Windows, and we can keep going from there. Okay, for our first step, we're going to go ahead and download the Linux Mint ISO. So go to your web browser of choice, go to Google, DuckDuckGo, wherever you want. I'm going to look up Linux Mint. Now you're going to find the linuxmint.com link here, and down below you're going to see download. So go ahead and click download. And you're going to see a few versions of Linux Mint. There's the Cinnamon edition, the XFCE edition, the Mate edition. They're just different layouts, I guess, of the same operating system. I'm going to go with the Cinnamon edition, so I'm going to go ahead and click download. Down below you're going to see a bunch of mirrors or different servers you can download the ISO from. Find the one that's closest to you and go ahead and click it. I'm just going to click one at random. Let's do Hoobly, why not? And it's going to start downloading. Now I've already downloaded it, so I'm not going to do this. And let's jump over to VirtualBox and let's make our virtual machine. Okay, so for the next step, I got VirtualBox Manager pulled up here. We're going to click Tools, go to New, give it a name. I'm going to call it Linux Mint. I'm going to select that ISO that we had downloaded, so right here. And I'm going to skip the unintended installation. So it gives us a default of 2 gigs of RAM. I'm going to bump that up to 4. And I'm going to give it 3 CPUs or 3 processors because why not? It'll hopefully make it go faster. So next. Now Linux Mint wanted 20 gigs of RAM space. So it's already allocated 25 gigs of hard drive space. We're going to leave that alone. I'm going to pre-allocate the full size. If you don't pre-allocate it, then as you're using the virtual machine, if it needs more space, it will just slowly take it up to the limit of 25 gigs. I like to pre-allocate it because that's just what I like to do. Click Next. Everything looks good. We're going to click Finish. And it's going to go ahead and spin up that virtual machine. I'll speed this process up. Awesome. Okay, our blank virtual machine has now been created. So we're going to move on to the next step, which is actually installing the OS onto this blank virtual machine. Okay, if you remember in the last step, we did select that Linux Mint ISO. That's the equivalent of just putting a CD into this blank machine here. We're going to go ahead and start it, and it's going to boot into that ISO. I'm going to maximize this. So here we go. So we've booted into it. I'm going to go ahead and click Start Linux Mint. This is going to take a minute, so I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part while it boots into the operating system here on the CD or on the ISO. Okay, here we are. So once again, we're running off the ISO, and you can play around in here. They kind of made it so you can test it out without actually installing it. So if you want to look at all this stuff, you can, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go ahead and install it. So right here, double click Install Linux Mint. And let's walk through the installation process. Okay, go ahead and select your language. English for me, continue. Keyboard layout, I'm going to leave it as English. US, continue. You can install the multimedia codecs if you want. I guess it's for certain formats and maybe some websites. I'm not going to do that because I want to make this go by fast. If I was doing this for a more permanent thing and not an example, I'd probably click it. Okay, so this is just saying, hey, the hard drive you're going to install this onto, it's going to erase it completely, or the partition you're installing this onto, it's going to erase it completely. Are you okay with that? Well, we have the 25 gigs that we allocated just for this virtual machine. We're okay with that. We're going to leave it as the default and click install now. It's going to say, hey, this is what we're going to partition onto that that blank hard drive, or space that you gave us. We're going to say okay. Looks great. Continue. And I want you to select your time zone. I'm going to leave mine at Denver. And it wants us to give us our name. I'm going to call Potato. And leave it as the default for those two. Give it an ultra secure password. And I want it to log in automatically instead of asking me for my password every time. And I'm going to click continue. I'm going to leave that encrypt my home drive blank, by the way. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and speed up this process, and I'll meet back with you when it's done. Okay, so the installation has finished. We're going to go ahead and click Restart Now. And I'll speed this part up too, unless there's another question. Doesn't look like it. Maybe there is. Hold on. Sometimes it says, yep, there it is. If you get this, just go ahead and push enter. Now, after we've installed the operating system, something nice that VirtualBox does is it removes that ISO that we used to install Linux Mint. So now it's rebooting, and it's not booting into that ISO. It's booting into Linux Mint that we installed on top of that virtual machine. And I can prove it because that CD in the top that said install Linux Mint will be gone. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this part. Never mind, that was pretty dang quick. See? Gone. Welcome to Linux Mint. So congratulations if you've made it this far and followed all the steps. You've installed Linux Mint onto a VirtualBox virtual machine, and you can play around with this. You can do whatever you want to it. And if you don't like it anymore, you can destroy it. You can erase it. And that's the beauty about virtual machines, is if something goes wrong, you can just start all over and does nothing to the host operating system. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned. I'll be making more videos coming down the line. All right, thanks. Bye.